Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to the Pain Clinic for December 20th. Wow, we're almost there. It's almost that day, almost time for Christmas. Welcome to the show. Holidays today, just one. It's Go Caroling Day, which seems quite appropriate, being a Saturday before Christmas. Birthdays today, there aren't any, but tomorrow, a happy 56 to Mauro Ranallo. And if you caught a Jake Paul fight last night, you caught Mauro Ranallo doing the commentary on the fight as Jake Paul got destroyed last night. If you were watching on Netflix, hey, interested in roller derby, want to be a skater, officiate Rock City Roller Derby needs you, contact recruitment at rockderbyrecruitment@gmail.com and join Rock City Roller Derby. You can join the men's team, Flower City Fear, FLOUR, Flower City Fear as well. And in 2 weeks from today, I'll be tournament head announcing for junior Rochester area junior roller derby. We have a tournament that goes Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, first weekend in the new year. And I may be here, I may not. Depends how many extra announcers I can get besides me. But welcome to the show today. We're here to talk the world of pro wrestling. I'm your humble host, the Cash Man. I'm joined by Rob Sanderson, Rob the RT Sanderson. Rob, how are you doing? Is there someplace? It's still muted though. Maybe he's still connecting. Believe me, Rob will be here. I see him. Well, good morning. He said good morning on the chat because he's not coming through just yet. Well, we do have a lot of things to talk about today, Rob, and once you come on, I will jump right into it. But I do want to give people who are listening. There are a few people listening, and thank you. I want to thank you for being in there already in the chat room, Tim. We've got going on today. Talk about John Cena's last match and thoughts about that. The mystery man has been solved on Raw. MJF's back. Kind of thought he might be because they were having the battle royale for the diamond, you know what I'm talking about, the diamond Rob would tell me if it wasn't still muted, but yes. And Thea Hale, accidental win on NXT this week. You know, how do you deal with that? I think that's pretty crazy. We got Dan in there with us as well as watching. But there's just an interesting week in wrestling. There you are, Rob. You're not muted.
The Dynamite Diamond.
That's it, Dynamite Diamond. And and I was actually surprised at the winner of that, but we'll get to that. So I'm going to jump right off head first, I guess, into what what everyone wants to talk about. At least first, I mean, how can we not acknowledge John Cena's last match, the build up, the aftermath? What'd you think, Rob? I know you're not an avid WWE follower, but it's like kind of hard not to watch this one last weekend, right?
Yeah. I mean, I watched it and it was good and bad. I feel like my overall opinions on it have differed a lot from most people. In things that I think were good, other people said were bad, and other things that people said were bad, I thought were good. So, he put over Gunther, and he wanted to do that, and that is the tradition in wrestling. Good or bad, I don't have a problem at all with him losing that match. I think that's what I expected. And not to say that like that tradition can't change over time or whatever, but I feel like that was the right call if you're putting an opponent in there who is still considered a young, weird to say for a former world champion, but an up and comer kind of thing. I mean,
42-year-old, right?
no, he's not. I think he's still
okay. Maybe he's 30,
but
I heard there was like a 38 versus 42 for the final match. So
I mean, he's been around for a long time for sure, but it's just like if it was a match that was against Randy Orton or The Miz or like one of his actual edge, one of his longtime rivals, then have him win that. In this situation, if you're going to put somebody like Gunther, Walter, whatever, in that spot, that's the right decision. Along those lines as well, the smiling while giving up, I
Yeah.
have no issue with. And he did a really good job of explaining it on a podcast with Cody Rhodes this week. Talking about, um, it's basically as morbid as it was kind of like the character John Cena, like taking his final breath, like he was happy with everything he had done, and he was going out and um, he had done everything he needed to do, kind of thing, and is actually leaving and not wrestling again and everything. And I just think I think it worked. I don't like how everything went down post match. I thought it was really awkward. I don't see the point of having him hold up
Two
two
championships. Yeah.
championship belts that aren't his, that one of which he never even held, right? And like I know the symbolism they're going for with all that and stuff, but it just, to me, that was weird, and unnecessary. Um, Having Triple H come out there or whatever, like they can laugh about it or whatever, but you're kind of killing the moment a little bit by, you know, causing all of those chants and stuff from the fans. Cena not talking at all, even after they went off the air or something, I thought was a little weird. Um, I don't know. I mean, some of that is fine. Some of it was just strange. I don't think they needed to do too much more because they had a year of building this up. It wasn't some like, oh, if he loses, he's done, and then like bye. Um, like there was plenty of build up. There's plenty talking already and stuff, but um, it just felt like I don't know. I'm surprised at how many fans in the building seemed so shocked that he lost. I guess I can understand why, like, oh, Mr. Never Give Up gave up. Like, what the hell is that? Uh, Again, I'm fine with it. But then you've got videos of like Bailey and Punk and people like being in shock about it. Like, are you pretending for
Yeah.
like in case somebody catches you on camera? Like, are you serious? How are you surprised by this? I just a lot of that just baffles me. But the match itself was fine. I mean, compared to other matches he's had this year, it's not his most memorable like bell to bell performance, or whatever. But like all things considered, perfectly fine for the match. Wasn't too quick, wasn't too dominant. Um, I I don't know. I think that overall it was good.
Yeah. I was going to say, from the beginning, I mean, obviously the show, I don't know. I kind of started off with a bad taste in my mouth with the Cody Rhodes, the way that they went with that Obafemi Kobe Rhodes match.
Well, and just to clarify, my thoughts are exclusively on from the Gunther entrance on. I didn't watch anything before that.
Well, no,
Um,
yeah, and I'm going to skip over everything else it was interesting that John addressed the legends, quote unquote, in the crowd before he went in the ring, and the cameras were tight on that and everything. And obviously and then like he said in that interview with Cody, that his wife was sitting in the front row and he was looking at her when he tapped. But he said this, like I said, everyone in his family was sitting in the front row there, so it was kind of like, but overall good match. I mean, obviously, it went back and forth, and Gunther sold like crazy. And this is anybody who gets a win over John Cena in his last match is going to propel him a little bit, and obviously, if you saw Monday Night Raw, Gunther coming out, it was just it was like as loud as Dom was getting those boos the whole time. But it was a good match. I mean, yes, he took off his sneakers and left them in the middle of the ring at the end. Everybody surrounded the
what were
ring.
those sneakers though? Those weren't
Yeah.
pumps. Like what? Like I don't know. Those were kind of strange.
Yeah, but everyone was around the ring. He took the belts, had him on his shoulder, didn't really address the crowd at all. Kind of, I know, and then I find out later, just like a couple days ago that they were filming a documentary while doing this too. And so I'm sure you're going to get a lot more from obviously backstage behind but it was I thought it was an interesting um setup to coming down to the ring, with like these sideway monitors up and right from the entranceway to, till they came out to the, where the to walking down to the ring. I thought it was an interesting setup because one, man, that I don't know, you put monitors facing monitors. It's kind of like it was kind of I mean, it was neat. It was something different, but I don't know. Was it good? Maybe. I don't know. But another thing is, I went to social media after it, and there was a lot of people I know who aren't big wrestling fans, but watched it, because of maybe they were a big wrestling fan 20 years ago, and they're saying goodbye to John Cena, and the people not in the know of the business were so disappointed with how it ended. Didn't feel like it had to end that way. I mean, I said to this, and this is how I felt from the beginning. John Cena dictated exactly what was going to happen in that match to the very end. He dictated it. I mean, that's what he wanted. If he didn't want that, it wouldn't have happened. This was his last match. I mean, he meant so much to that company. They probably, gave him an open book and said, do what you want. You can win if you want. You can do whatever you want. And John, and in the business, quote unquote, old school business, you always lay down for the guy who's going to continue on with the company. And that's what happened. That's what happened with obviously Gunther was staying, coming back, and it gave him I think a heck of a heel boost. I think that one thing I was happy about in that whole show is it was not opened by Triple H. There was no Triple H.
Oh, that's shocking.
So it was a voiceover by Triple H.
Sure was.
Yeah.
Saw that.
Yeah, we got that voiceover, but we did not see him in the ring until he came out later, in which he was booed the entire way down the aisle and into the ring. Maybe people are smartening up to it, but it's like it's just interesting that they spent so much time on this and everything else was on the back burner. With I think at least in the last month, it was much more heavier into this than anything else. And then it's like, now you got to pick up without that, And so I will say that, I mean, they had tributes to start both, I believe, SmackDown and Raw, or actually Raw started cold in the ring with Gunther coming down. And that's where you heard the crazy boos. But pretty much it was in the beginning of the show, and then it's like, okay, and we're done. Continue on, get past this and continue on. And it wasn't much mentioned beyond just the beginnings of the show. And it's kind of tough. It puts him in a tough position because John Cena could have just said, I'm coming back for a year. And then at the very end of it said, I'm retiring after this. He could have done it that way, which wouldn't put so much pressure on everything involved in the storylines and everything that he was doing. He could have like made up some, I want to win this one time before I'm done in my career, maybe say that, but never really dictate that there was an end date to it. And there's a lot of wrestlers that like that. A lot of wrestlers retire without really wanting to retire. And it's because their contracts end and if their contracts don't end, it's because, they were fired or left to go to another company, never come back. And then it's considered their retirement was their last match in WWE. But John Cena, obviously had, the red carpet for the whole year going into this, and kind of made it occupied all of the creative, or a lot of the creative. I mean, you remember the crazy things that were going on during this run with him, winning the title, doing the heel turn, coming back,
abandoning the heel turn will always be now the biggest thing I remember, which is sad, but still absolutely baffling.
Yeah. I don't think it was a great year for him. I mean, yes, he won the 17th time. Yes. And he said he would be there when the next person wins the 18th time. So good for him. But
nobody's winning. I don't see a world where somebody the only people that would potentially match that or beat it are people who are already close right now. Yeah. I don't think we're going to get to a point in the future where people are winning and losing titles as frequently or going to be on top as long, or there's just going to be more competition. Yeah. I don't see it happening. Orton's not super far away, but I don't see him being somebody who's going to who's going to beat it.
Not at his age, because he's the same age, I think, as Cena, or he's up close to him. But you know, the thing too is that's a fictitious number, because Ric Flair won all those in a competing company before he ever got to be the 16 time, you know? And so you know,
Well, and honestly, like from a booking side of things, like there are exceptions to rules all the time. There are people who are bigger than the business. But in my opinion, championship is meant to propel somebody, to get them on a level, to make you believe that they are a main eventer permanently. All those things, winning them a few times, sure, all of that. But there gets to be a point where like the belt does absolutely nothing for somebody after they've had it for X amount of time or X amount of reigns. Um, I have fought that in company. Like I think there's some people that like they don't need it. This other person needs it because they need to be elevated now for this or whatever. So I don't think like Randy Orton at this point, that does nothing for him if he's world champion again. Like unless they were dead set on him beating the record, which I don't think they are, there's no need for it. He's a well-established former multi-time champion. Like,
yeah.
And I just don't see any need to do that with anybody again. Like they were in a huge drought for a long time. He was quite honestly one of if not the only option many times. And I just don't see them ending up in a situation like that now that they've opened their doors more to partnerships, to independent wrestlers, to building their own people in the performance center and NXT and stuff. Like there are many more people under their umbrella than there were when Cena was starting his years of being on top, where they didn't have many options. So I just I don't see it being beaten.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and then if you really want to get technical, I believe R-Truth is held the hardcore title like 75 times. So, you know, but that, of course, that's the 24/7 challenge belt, or whatever they called it, you know.
Yeah, the 24/7 I-95 something something. Yeah, I'll
So,
always remember the I-95 part. So
yeah, so I thought that, you know, after that, you know, I mean, like, and I'll be honest with you, and I mean, I'm talking about people we know, like even Bob Lonsberry was commenting on, okay, and he was upset the way it ended. He says, does it have to end that way, you know? And it's like, I didn't reply. I wasn't going to, but I was just reading all the replies he got, and it's like, you know, that's a business thing that happened with John Cena. That, I mean, you know, I mean, obviously in a fairy tale world, he would have won and gone out, you know, a champ or winner or whatever, and then ended it. And we've seen that happen before with people walking off after winning a championship, and then them you know, retiring it or whatever they do, or just, you know, put a tournament up and have fun with it after. See, I wouldn't have minded that as well, you know, if he had held that, even the Intercontinental title, and then they could have just like put it up and said, you know, hey, but John didn't want to have any baggage going into that last match. He didn't, and he dictated everything that happened. And it's like, that's how he wanted it to end,
right,
you know, and he did it good for the good of the business.
and in a predetermined business, when you're honoring somebody having the end of their one of the best of all time careers of 25 years or whatever, like he gets to make that decision. That's the right thing. Like, don't like I I could sit here and give you 9 hours of reasons to boo Paul Levesque. The finish of that match is not one of them. So people are really upset about that. Yeah, and obviously it's a big deal. I mean, I had a bunch of people texting me, like college roommates and stuff, that like don't watch wrestling, but certainly like did at some point, or everybody knows who John Cena is. It was ESPN news. It was, I mean, it was being posted by all sorts of mainstream, I hate to even use that term at this
The
point,
funny
but
thing is,
real media outlets.
people were complaining. I saw the Yahoo one where people unhappy for John Cena's last match. It was like in their news headline. It's like they were
It's
full.
almost like people should look at the expression on Cena's face as he's tapping out and say, he doesn't look unhappy, so maybe I shouldn't be either.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, and it's great that he did do that interview with Cody after that to talk about a lot of the aspects. So if people really were wondering why things went like they went, you know, just listen to, and
It's a
you know,
very interesting podcast. I mean, I know that Cena, he he doesn't seem to me to be the same person that he was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. And obviously people evolve and things like that, but he's very well spoken. It's almost like sometimes hard to believe when he's talking that it's the same person as the word life thugonomics guy that like was just out there to beat people up, and like now he's just talking about like being present in the moment and like these things he does with his like social gatherings and this and that. It's like
Yeah.
this is not what you normally hear on a wrestling podcast, but it
Well,
was entertaining for sure.
he is a Hollywood actor now too, I mean, and
Yeah.
that's probably where we're going to see him from now on, being a Hollywood actor. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that because it's like, you hear, remember over his whole career, we were hearing stories about him, stopping people's careers and affecting them because of his influence. And then this in the past couple of weeks, I've seen a few stories of people who, had problems with him after matches with him and stuff, and him just lambasting him in front of like the locker room and stuff like that. And that was John Cena, the WWE guy, and he hasn't been really the WWE guy since he went to Hollywood. So he's, I think, I'm very happy for him, and it's like I think, as much as I told you, as much as we disliked him for many, many years, we were not big fans of John Cena, and all we did was cringe when he would be, the superstar, the five moves of doom, and then the end of the matches and everything. In fact, he even referenced that, I believe,
Yeah.
he could reference the six move, which was the bouncing stunner but he I'm very happy for him. I know we're going to see him again. Obviously he's going to be in the Hall of Fame with Stephanie McMahon coming up this year. He should be without a doubt. And
I
it's
don't know. Will they take that attention away from Steph? I could see them waiting another year or more to
I mean,
actually do it.
when
But
you think about it, how much has he really been in the WWE, say the last 5 or 6 years? He hasn't had a run like this, that's for sure,
he did more this year than like the last decade combined.
Yeah, because remember when he was like they were theorizing he was going to wrestle the Undertaker at WrestleMania, and it never was announced, and then he was in the front row of WrestleMania, and he went in and wrestled them, and I mean that was the build up to that match was him sitting drinking a beer in the front row in his gear, So I mean but yeah, he really hasn't done that much, so it's good, and you know, he did many firsts in his career in this past year. That I think he did, like the heel turn. Obviously, that was the very first thing. I heard in the interview that he and Cody kind of like took shots at Travis Scott and The Rock about their build up for last WrestleMania, how they kind of disappeared. Which is interesting. I find that, I mean, obviously we all heard the stories about how Travis Scott kind of didn't show up, and then The Rock kind of got busy, and he couldn't be a part of it. And it was all built on those guys going into WrestleMania. So they talked about how they salvaged it kind of this past.
well, whoever decided to involve Travis Scott in the first place was an idiot. That was not necessary in any of this. The Rock abandoning ship on that looks bad. Will always look bad on The Rock. Um, my biggest issue still is like you have a creative team supposedly. Figure it out in terms of like, oh, he's just hello guys. Tonight I am no longer a bad guy. Cheer for me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what?
Oh no,
It's still
the
one of the
crowd
most
did it.
baffling things ever in
The
wrestling.
crowd did it to him. He was coming out and he stopped, and then he just kind of, he just stopped, and it just changed like that. And by the way, I do want to mention something too. In that video that they ran for him, Vince McMahon footage was in it.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised at that because I mean, I know that they have a relationship and John Cena is still a friend of his and will support him and everything, but he had a divorce from this company and they used footage of him. I mean, heck, his family is still seriously involved in the company too, I mean, but I don't, I mean, it doesn't mean that that Vince's lawsuit's over yet or anything. So, but they actually used him in a quote, which it wasn't a bad quote. It was just talking about John Cena as, the guy who's gung ho and ready to do anything and was willing to do anything. And, he was moving it.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but I mean, at least it was an old clip and not like something they had just filmed. That would have been a lot worse. So,
True,
um,
true.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's not, that was weird, but to me, I don't know, like the whole, like the video plays and then pretty much he like takes his weird old sneakers off and walks to the back and it's like, what? Okay. I mean, I still think again, I didn't watch before that match. But I'm always going to be somebody who thinks there should be more than four matches on a big show or whatever. But this is theoretically a television style show, even though it was Peacock only. You didn't need to have like you could have cut another match and done more with the entrance and the whatever and saved some time. Like had the match start and end a little earlier, let him I don't
I mean,
know.
well,
Let
it
him
went,
do
it went,
one
yeah.
last like little like as a wrestler, whatever. Like he loses the match, he comes back to and he says like three sentences on the microphone, and the crowd gets to say it along with him, whatever it is, or something. And then like his music
Well, he
hits,
did
he
he did stop in the middle of the match and said, "This is the last time I'm doing this." When he did the "You can't see me," and so the
yeah,
whole crowd echoed that,
yeah.
But he did say the mics on and the ring turned on loud so you could hear it. Yeah, I know I agree, but I went 20 minutes after 10, so it definitely went a lot longer than I was expecting because they stayed with it. But I am disappointed that on Peacock there was no pre-show. It started right with the first match, and though so
I
the
thought I heard there was one, but I
there was
guess
there
I don't
was
know.
it was on YouTube, and nobody they had not had said anything about being on YouTube. So they had like in 2 hours of pre-show on YouTube. I turned on Peacock and it said, waiting for the show to start until it was like 8 o'clock. And it was like I was just kind of disappointed they didn't do it. I mean, what else has Peacock got to do? It's better than that. I mean, but nevertheless, it's probably a contractual thing because that was the very last Peacock event too. So that was their swan song getting out of it too. So if you guys have Peacock now, you can now, uh, unless you want, unless I
Do they
guess
still have NXT stuff at all?
I think
Or
NXT pay-per-views are still on Peacock. So if you watch NXT, you want to get those,
it doesn't matter to me, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, but that and everything else is done on Peacock now. But yeah, it was nice, and I'm glad that and it's like I just loved so watching social media with all the people who weren't in the know who just were upset about it, and it's like it's just not to say that and friends of mine who are in the know, but were out defending what happened, in the match at least, and that was the way it went. That's the way it was, that's the way I expected it to go. I didn't expect it to go as long as that, but it did, it was, and we'll see more, I'm guessing, because when like I said, they're doing a documentary on the very last match of John Cena. And I don't think it's the last time we see him. I mean, obviously he said he's now a ambassador for WWE, which means he's probably on a Legends contract. He signed a 5-year deal. So, I thought that was, it was nice. And I think everybody, even, and I think he just drew a lot of fans that weren't fans, I mean, or haven't been fans in a long time. So I think that I haven't seen any numbers, but I'm guessing they're going to be really good because it was such a big deal. Nothing else was going on. College football was in that pause now, and now they're by the way, the championship games were crazy last night. It was like, we've started the tournament now for the champion in college football. So that's pretty cool. But, beyond
I wish I cared more on that side of things, but
I only stumbled across it after SmackDown last night, and it's like, oh, I'll just watch this for a while now.
Temple hit 5 wins pretty early in the season. It's like, all right, just one more to get a bowl game, which I've never been a big fan of, like bowl games compared to other sports in general. But and then they did not win another game, and we're not bowl eligible. And after that last game, I was just like, all right, college football's done for me. Because I think they've improved it, but it still sucks. Like there's not an ideal situation, and I understand you're not going to play as many games as like basketball in March Madness and stuff, but it's still way too selective and few teams involved in like really truly having a chance and stuff that I want to see crazy 12-5 upsets and stuff. I don't want to see just here's more rolling of the tide and all that stuff. So
That's what happened last night against
yeah,
Oklahoma. So yeah, I was looking for JR on the sideline because JR is always there, but he's going through some health issues right now. But interesting that is going on right now. But and also last night, a lot of people were watching the Jake Paul fight, in which Jake Paul got knocked out in the sixth round, which and Logan was there, and of course Logan was in his corner. Obviously. It's interesting. There's so many things I want to talk about this week, but I definitely wanted to start off with John Cena, and then I was waiting for like the letdown watching this week's programs after that because it's like that just spent a lot of time, and so it's not like okay, let's rev back in. CM Punk's allowed to come back now. He came back this past Monday after missing a few weeks because I think they wanted to take the focus off of champions, and Cody Rhodes. Like was on last night on SmackDown. Him and Drew McIntyre are building something up, for their next, I think it's the Royal Rumble, we have some news about that. And maybe we'll get to that later when we get to the news, which is the next pay-per-view for WWE. But let's talk a little bit about.
The last thing I just want to say quick is Cena, like the way for a match side of things, they did it right. And that's different than how AEW also did it right with Sting, who won. I like the idea of it not always necessarily being super predictable or whatever. There can be different rights and wrongs in these decisions or whatever. I think AEW's was a little bit better in terms of like the post match and like confetti and whatever and stuff. But Cena losing was the right call. So people should get over it.
Yeah, get over it. And in 5 years, when John Cena needs money, he'll be back in the ring. So
absolutely not.
We'll see what happens. I guess
I would love to place a bet on that, but how do you place a bet on that? Like,
I'm sure Vegas is taking something, but you got to sit like 6 or 7 years before
it would. And they're going to hold on to my money for that long. No thanks.
No, yeah. So, but yeah, who knows? Well, I mean, but I'm a fan of his acting career as well. He does, I love Peacemaker, and I like to see more of it. And he, obviously was in the new Superman movie for a brief, 15 seconds last summer. And so John's busy, and I'm sure he's got a lot of stuff coming out, that we haven't seen yet, but, now he can just focus on that, and not worry about Nikki Bella anymore in the same locker room. No, it has nothing to do with it. It was, but it was great seeing all the people honor, even the people in AEW honoring him, kind of on the air, sort of like, and then John Cena liking those images, like just Samoa Joe giving him the salute and stuff like that. So, but he,
I mean, and it's another example for people out there that like the tribalism and stuff is so insanely out of control of fans of these companies. But like, again, the wrestlers in each company, they're all friends. They respect each other. The AEW people respect John Cena. The WWE people on a Wednesday night, if they're home, are watching Dynamite. Like, it's the same type of thing. Like I said, like when the visiting hockey team shows up and they greet players that are they're friends with on the home team or whatever, while the fans show up and they're like, "We hate these people. Go kill them on the ice" or whatever. It's like, nah, it's not really how this goes.
No, it looks like that in football too, man. The guys don't hate each other, they don't hate each other. It's maybe some people do because they're ex-teammates and they had issues, but yeah, so that brings me up to let's just jump to the next thing. I want to talk about so AEW was in Manchester this past week, and we got what a show that was, man. I know that it was taped and showed 6 hours later or whatever, but lots of surprises on that show, setting up the next pay-per-view, which is next week. No,
a week from today.
Week from today. But now I think the biggest surprise, MJF showing up. They're doing a little round table to have some contract signing for the next the heavyweight championship, which was going to be Swerve Strickland, what did he call him? Shane? No, that was MJF who called him Shane. So that's what he was in WWE, right? I believe that's when he was in NXT, he was Shane Strickland.
Shane. Oh yeah, I guess he was. Yeah, I mean that's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
what he was on like the indies and stuff. I mean,
they had him. They had
or no WWE. He was like Isaiah or
Oh,
something.
was he? I thought
But he was
Swerve
Shane
came out
Swerve
there.
Strickland
Yeah.
on the Indies and Wrestle Circus and
I
CZW
thought
and all that
Swerve.
stuff.
I thought they were yelling Swerve when he was in NXT. They were
I think it
chanting.
was like Isaiah Swerve Scott. Do I have that right?
That's what it was.
Maybe.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but so he's out in the ring. We've got Paige in the ring, and we've got Samoa Joe, and then MJF's music plays, comes out, and is this what they've been waiting for since he won that contract to challenge anytime he wanted? But he comes out with the that contract that, remember, he kind of talked he talked Adam Page out of making him use it at the I can't remember what pay-per-view that was. You remember he was taking on MJF one-on-one, and MJF was going to use his and MJF convinced him to
He's gonna beat him up or whatever. Or he's gonna beat
yeah.
somebody up backstage and yeah.
Was he gonna light someone on fire or something?
Might have been.
It was
Yeah.
yeah, he was gonna light uh so nevertheless he comes out with that contract, signs in, so now it's a four-way for the pay-per-view next weekend. And MJF is back, obviously, like he says, he's been making movies. But something interesting is in that promo, which was a great promo, by the way, because they were just tearing each other down. I know in reality, if someone was tearing me down like that, I might almost assault them because of some of the things he was saying. But he also brought up the WWE. That's when he was talking about Shane's, he's like, yeah, he goes, when you were there, you were, whatever. And he was, he mentioned WWE and other places in his promo, but this was in Manchester, and obviously got huge pop when he came out. It's great setup for next pay-per-view, but overall it was this past week's AEW Dynamite was fantastic. Back to back, we had 3 hours with the Collision part one. We followed it up
First half of it, yeah.
half, and the second half's going to be today at like 4:30, I think.
2:30 to 3:30.
That's right, 2:30, 3:30, because then you can watch the NFL game, Washington and whoever they're playing, Philadelphia, at 4 o'clock or 5
Is it
o'clock.
Philly?
Yeah, I think it's Philly. Yeah,
So they get an extra day off before playing the Bills.
they do. And then Washington's got to play on Christmas Day, I think. I think they're playing the Cowboys that day. So they get what? They're playing Saturday and then Thursday, which Christmas.
Green Bay, Chicago tonight as well. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Green Bay, Chicago. This is time of year in which they start throwing games in all over the place because college football is only certain days of the week now with this tournament. It was last night was one of them. But yeah, it was. What'd you think of Dynamite overall? I mean, we got some great matchups. Obviously it was there was some back to the tournament. What would you think?
Another really good week overall. I've been expecting the MJF return, and as soon as the lights went out, I fully expected his music to hit. I think that does add intrigue to a match that before him being added to it, quite honestly, I wasn't super excited about the three-way. I don't know. I'm still not crazy about even the four-way, to be honest, just because it's all people that have held the belt, which we know, again, like we were just talking about with Cena and stuff, that's not my favorite part. But the thing I didn't really love about that was MJF kind of came out and kept going up to everybody, like you said, and like insulting them and stuff, but like none of them responded at all, which was just weird. They just all standing there like silent, taking it, and I don't know. So that wasn't necessarily my favorite, but the matches were really good. I mean, overall, like especially the trios match. I mean, getting to see on free or whatever you want to call it, TV, whatever, like Omega and the Bucks against Okada and Takeshita and Hechicero is just a treat. To me, that's better than most pay-per-view matches you're going to see, even. And I mean, then you see like Megan Bain doing a top rope Frankensteiner.
Yeah, what was that? That's crazy.
Pack and Fletcher was great as expected, and get to see that Black Arrow in front of his home country ish and stuff. Like, I mean, it just it was really good. I will also say I did not like that battle royal at all. I just, to me, it didn't click. It was a weird mix of people. It ended weird. it just like that was probably my least favorite battle royal that AEW's ever done. I just don't get it. And now like it is a little strange that like that's the same night that MJF comes back and like he's got the ring on his finger and like is he just
Yeah.
not going to be a part of the final this week between Bandito and Ricochet? When MJF has won it every other year. I don't know. I could see some kind of shenanigans happening there. Um,
Yeah.
but I thought that battle royal sucked. The yeah, the Continental Classic matches have been so good, and for whatever reason, it seems to me like the tournament's going by faster this year, which I like. Um, because it again, I will always have a little bit of an issue with how it seems for weeks that like these are the only 12 people on TV every week, but it's been a little bit better at like mixing other people into the show than it just constantly being like, here's another John Moxley match, here's another Orange Cassidy match. So I don't know. Overall, good show, great crowd, really great crowd, and I look forward to Collision today continuing, even though I hate spoilers that are all over the place on that. Just really, I don't know. It's annoying, and like there's plenty of people out there too that are aware of spoilers being an issue for some people who like are still putting it out there. I don't know. There's some hypocritical stuff with some of the reporters and stuff on that, but um yeah. But even I mean along those lines, like we know they announced obviously that Mercedes is putting up the Rev Pro British Undisputed title today as taped on Wednesday. And even if you didn't see anybody spoil anything about that, like the opponent, whatever, if you go to like TNT's listings for the show this afternoon, it lists who the opponent is right there. It's like, what are we doing? Like, this is like again, like it wasn't a big deal with taped wrestling shows in like the 90s when the internet wasn't really a thing and stuff. But this is why I hate taped wrestling shows so much. And I feel like they could have arranged this in a different way because they have a live event tonight. Could
Yep.
have just gone like arranged things to have done something different with your Manchester tapings or whatever. Like you still give them as much wrestling, and then instead of taping Dynamite tonight and taping Collision tomorrow, you do a live Collision tonight and you tape Dynamite tomorrow, uh, or whatever. Like there's ways to figure it out. Then you just do a Collision special next week with some matches you taped in Manchester and whatever, a holiday special. Like it doesn't, you don't have to have new programming every time. But I will continue to campaign against wrestling programs doing big things in tape situations. So overall, looking at the hour that will be on TV today, to try to do my best to be vague about things. There is significance to the show within that hour, and maybe if you're going to end up in situations where you have tape programming, decide to do your bigger stuff on the non-taped events.
There you go.
Less likely to be spoiled. Then again,
Well,
you're making your tape shows even worse by doing that, but still.
you bring that up. The last night after SmackDown ended, they taped next week's SmackDown. First thing I saw this morning, headline of something that happens on that.
Yep.
And it's like I don't need to see that. Now it
Yep.
makes me not want to watch it.
Well, that's the thing. Like I remember back in the day going into the library at school onto rajawwf.com and pulling up the SmackDown spoilers and reading them. I had to make that effort to seek them out. There weren't smartphones. It wasn't like things like posts showing up in my Facebook feed from like stupid wannabe dirt sheet sites that spoil things and you don't even follow them, but meta thinks that you want this post. Like there's so many people that defend that type of stuff like, oh, if you don't want to know, like stay off social media for 3 days.
Yeah.
That's not how the world works in 2025. Like you're not turning your phone off for 3 days to avoid results that might be out there for a professional wrestling show. That's insane.
Well, and
Like
plus, like you mentioned, the meta, that freaking, even if you stay off for 3 days, it's still going to be throwing these headlines at you. You know, it's still, the algorithm there. It's still going to throw this stuff at you. And it's like, it's hard to avoid it completely.
well, people think you should just not go on anything for 3 days.
Kind of tough
Like
when you
like
like,
like, like
you,
that's gonna work.
like tough when you like run the social media for like properties like say your radio show or a wrestling company or and you need to put stuff out on there and it's like I mean it's a necessary evil they say for a lot of promotions and things and it really is but
It's crazy because then there's also people that complain about like even like sports results that are like, "Well, I like people that like recorded a game or whatever and like don't get to see it live and then they like complain replying to a team's tweet about a game. Like, what do you expect like the team to like put out a message 3 days later? It's like, has everybody seen this yet? So we can talk about it, so we can give the final score or something.
yeah.
Like that to me is also extreme. Like, I don't see. I wish things didn't pop up like that. Like the people who feel the need to be like, I'm this insider. Like, let me tell you about this big debut, return, title change. Like,
And I read it on
like,
someone else's page.
yeah, like it's not like like you. There are ways to do that to like have a spoiler alert, like put it, like bury it into a post where you have to click on it, you have to seek it out to get that. Like that's fine because I'm not going to click on that. Like I don't want to know ahead of
Yeah,
time.
you could just like headline it like tape SmackDown results, click here or something, and then but not putting in
I
big
mean,
things
I even
that
hate like there's
happen.
been time like WWE has spoiled stuff before on their own website when they've taped events and there's been a title change or something. It's like, what are you doing? Like and people are like, oh, well, if you care about it, then this will make you tune in. No, it makes me less likely to tune in because I already know what's happening and I don't care now.
Especially holiday season, man. This is like holiday season. If you don't want to be tied down to watching 2 hours of wrestling, everything that happens, go out and do your Christmas shopping or visit relatives or do something else. It's what it's encouraging you to do. It's like because you don't want to see something that's taped already. You already read what happened. It's like,
I
yeah,
mean, at least I feel like in a lot of ways we're not always, but there's been what seems like a better overall effort to make taped shows feel like they have the live energy, which
yeah.
has always been a problem to me when things were so obviously post production or whatever that heavily edited stuff. Clearly this guy like 2 days later recorded this voiceover from home on his phone and sent it back to the office for them to edit it in and stuff, and it's just like it's not the same. I don't know. Like I understand that like I'm more picky than most people about like little broadcast things like that, but that stuff drives me up a wall. Like so hopefully hopefully in general we just end up in situations where there's less and less taped shows. And I know there are plenty of people that disagree with me. I've had this conversation a million times. But again, AEW has a live event in a big venue tonight. That should be Collision, period.
Yeah, I agree. And
Or sorry,
okay.
Collision's airing at 2:30 this afternoon. Do two shows at Hammerstein today. Why not? You still could have given just as much wrestling again to Manchester as you did. And like shout out to us getting to have an episode of Dark this week from Cardiff
I was going to
because
mention
I
that. Yeah, I mean,
loved that.
that's one of the things you talked about last week. That's what you're like, hey, what would you like coming up in the year? I'd like to see Dark, and
I
boom,
miss
I,
it.
I I put that in the news because it's like that's what you asked for. They
Yeah.
must have been listening.
Well, I asked for that, and then I also specifically like when AEW posted that it was happening or whatever, I was like, man, I just wish this could be like true dark with like goofy Excalibur and Taz on commentary, and it was,
There
and
you
I was thrilled. It was only like 3 matches, but those two goofing off again on commentary. Granted, it wasn't exactly the same in terms of like there were some like local talents on there, like in each of the matches, but it wasn't like Isla Dawn's not some like person people only know from the indies kind of thing, whatever, something like but I understand plenty of people hated Dark. That's fine. I get it. I don't dispute that. I understand why people I loved it, and I miss the days of Dark and Elevation and Rampage when there were non-main eventers that were getting matches that you could watch.
They used to people would get popular on there and they'd move them over to the to Dynamite.
And most of those people now are still under contract but have vanished.
Yeah.
And that was also the days where they created their next batch of stars. That's where you got the Julia, Sky Blue, the Acclaimed, all of these, like they all were built up through getting those reps on those shows. And now that just doesn't happen. Like there's plenty of examples I could give. The first one that comes to mind right now is like, where's Nyla Rose? Still under contract.
Yeah.
Former women's world champion, second ever, was in the match for the first ever. And like, nope. For a while was getting matches on like Rampage every week, as was the Butcher, I mean, I could go through a huge list of people. But instead these people aren't getting any reps.
Yeah.
At least we got to see the Dark Order on TV once recently.
Yeah, we got trios with them, which was nice. 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So it was if you forgot who they were, but we also can relive some of those old videos too with those guys on it, but they do need to be used on TV. And you know what? Maybe that'll happen with this new what's happening with the Warner Brothers Discovery getting bought out, maybe it'll open up some space for them to do some more. I mean, Tony can do whatever he wants. He could still have, I mean, he runs Ring of Honor as a streaming service, their TV shows. So it's not that difficult to do AEW Dark, it's just, you got to keep paying people, different announcers or whatever. And, I mean, those guys usually will, work like the warm-up matches before a show most of the time too. So a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
That's the only time you see them, really.
And I mean, I'm glad that Ring of Honor exists, but it's not exactly the same thing. And I still think like having it on its own streaming app is just, it makes it so unfortunately irrelevant. Like I have access to watch that every week, but I don't expect most wrestling fans, casual wrestling fans, to pony up for a million different subscription things on top of the million that are already required to watch your WWEs and your maybe AEWs and your NFL and everything else. Like a Ring of Honor service standalone for $10 a month or whatever, it's not ideal. Not enough people pay attention to it because of that. So
I get you.
Dark on YouTube, anybody can watch.
It was in my news that I was going to bring up at one point. So that was a good thing, that you got there, because it was I thought I was reading something. I was like, am I seeing something that I'm not seeing? And it's like, oh yes, I did. So I'm going to do more piece before I get to the news. And that is, well, two things. Mystery Man solved in WWE on Monday Night Raw. It was Austin Theory. Hey, the first guy who actually wore the black body suit with a mask on. And so that was no surprise, even though they all acted like how could I, whoa, it's him. Who could, whatever. And by the way, last night, this Lash legend, who, yes, was a basketball player, played, I think, in the WNBA, and now is getting a heavy push on SmackDown. If you listen to the commentary, she's like being forced down our throats by the commentary. Oh, she's a world-class athlete. And I mean, she's been on TV. She had 2 matches on TV, and they're like praising all this stuff. I know, obviously, they're high on her, but they're doing the Vince McMahon forcing someone down our throats, which probably will come back to reverse and burn them in the long run, even though she's a heel, which is okay. They're siding her with Nia Jax. That's probably good because you want her to come up. But I mean, yes.
Do they really push her WNBA career? Because that's,
yes,
I just looked it up. Like she had a full college career. 3 years Texas A&M, 1 year Mississippi State. But then like this whole thing that always happens with like wrestlers, like, oh, this guy played in the NFL and stuff. It's like, Lash Legend, whatever her, Anriel Howard, played 3 games for the Seattle Storm in the WNBA and then was waived.
There we go. So yeah, they did. Well, no, they have brought it up. They said, you know what, they brought athletic background multiple times. I mean, they were really I mean, obviously, they've got Wade Barrett was and Joe Tessitore were doing the commentary because I guess Michael Cole had off last night. So they were just forcing it. And to me, that's kind of like how when Roman Reigns popped up in the way that they were like, overblowing everything about him, college football and this and that. And, and it just kind of reversed and hurt them in the long run. And that's, I like to see new stars created, but I don't want them forced down my throat to be created. Let Lash Legend's abilities get her over or get whatever before you start I mean, yes, it's like I said, they sided her with Nia Jax. And so Nia Jax is like, probably should be the dominant woman in WWE because she's bigger than everybody. She's bad. She actually can wrestle a bit. I know, isn't that amazing? I said that, but then you got that could wrestle and is as big as she is and is a woman, but that being said, yeah, I just wanted to mention that I was last night. It was just, oh, stop with the superlatives on her. It just got crazy after a while. It's like, now I remember it brought me back to when Roman Reigns was shoved down our throats for years. So we'll see what happens with that. But I wanted to mention,
and even to follow up on what was mentioned earlier too, like with those years of being sick of John Cena, it wasn't John Cena's fault. It was him being shoved down our throats by WWE management's fault.
Yeah. But John Cena was good enough that he got himself over, I mean, despite what they kept doing on TV with the announcing and everything, Roman Reigns, it took 3 years and people still hated him, and it was they loved him with the Shield. And then when he was split from the Shield, nobody cared, they booed The Rock after he won, the Royal Rumble, it took a while until he went heel and became, the head of the table or whatever the hell it is, and now he, and listen, he had a great run, and don't get me wrong, but there was a period in there where it was just, he wasn't getting over and they just wouldn't stop. So I wanted to mention that, but I also want to mention, I know not as many people watch NXT because I see the numbers, not as many people do, but they had a match on TV this past week that wasn't supposed to end the way it ended. Thea Hale got the accidental win over, was it Blake Monroe? For they call it the what's that title called?
At the North American.
Yeah, North American. Yeah, I won. Thea Hale was the most surprised looking person in the world when they counted the 3, because I guess Blake Monroe they never explained what happened, but you could see Blake Monroe was kind of like winded and was laying on her back and just didn't get up. And the referee did what the referee was supposed to do and not count 2 and stop, like that happened on SmackDown a couple of months ago. The referee counted 3 and they gave him the belt. So it kind of changed everything they had to do the rest of that night on that show, which included adding a backstage segment with them. I thought that was very interesting because, it's like they admitted to it. They said, yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen. But, they've also complained when things that aren't supposed to happen and then the referee stops the count because they know the finish. So this referee got nothing but applauded and congratulated for doing the right thing because he
did.
Yeah,
he absolutely did. You can't. That's to me is, you can't. I don't think you can really necessarily put any of that on Thea. To me, that is on Blake. I mean, that is which is surprising. But one way or another, like, there should be some quick communication there or something. And then I think like Blake said something to the ref, like after the fact was over, it's like, that's on you. Like, if you can't, if something's happening, like to physically can't kick out or something, like there's other ways to go about like making that happen or communicating verbally or not to stop the pinfall attempts or whatever. Like I mean, things happen. But I give full credit to the referee for doing the right thing because he and everybody else would have looked like a total idiot if he had just stopped counting. So
Yeah, that happened again, and because it just happened
yeah,
recently. So
yep.
yeah, and Thea, remember Thea Hale before coming to NXT was at AEW for a few matches, was definitely going around, but nobody looked more surprised than Thea Hale when they gave her the belt.
Yeah.
And but I've got apparently they were taping in advance when they were doing this show, and so some people had left the
Mm.
arena that were supposed to be involved, or now they had to change the angles, and so they had to bring people back who had left already.
They had
Uh,
filmed for like the rest of the year, like they're to go on their holiday break, and then people had to come back to the had to come back and film things, which is crazy. I would not be too thrilled with Mariah or whoever, if that were the case. But also in those type of situations, especially if you're about to go on a break, like maybe stay there. Like I'd be frustrated about having to film stuff again or change things, but like, did you really have to leave at that point? No. Um, but yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, I only did very limited refereeing back in the day, did not enjoy it. I can't imagine being in that spot of like who's supposed to win, when the finish, like you know at least a little bit, and you're in charge of a lot more communicating and stuff at that level, between producers and people in your ear and all that kind of stuff. But then like to literally like you're about to bring your arm down again, you're just like, oh my God. Like you know that you're about to like cause crazy stuff, it's not your fault. And I just can't imagine like being in that exact like millisecond. Because I feel like instinctively I would like want to stop myself,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
wait, no, you got to do this. Like, so
not the
I, I,
finish.
I give full credit for them, like knowing, like I gotta, like to not stop yourself, like subconsciously or whatever, like not let that instinct like kick in, like just hands it in the mat the third time. There were some people that said that maybe like when the ref went down, it may have made a noise that sounded like a one, and that is an issue that happens in my mind a lot in wrestling, in terms of like when the count's actually starting and some confusion on that, and why it is important for like sometimes for like the actual count to be verbal as well, to indicate like, are we at a one, are we at a two, whatever. But if there was a noise from the referee going down to the mat, then that would have been a four count, not a two count. So like
Yeah,
that doesn't excuse anything.
you're right. Yeah, if that was one, then you were way late.
Yeah,
Kicking out there, Blake Monroe.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting, and it's like it's funny how like when I was watching SmackDown last night, it was live. I actually they got too close to the wrestlers, and I could hear them talking to each other, which is not a good thing.
Did you notice how they had the ring mics cut off during John Cena's last match?
Yeah,
Because
because he talks
that was the
continuously.
smartest decision they've made in a long time, because he loves to yell spots.
Oh yeah, yeah. So the last night I noticed that there was a lot of gibberish going between people, and it was like if you go back and watch it, you'll see during matches with people just communicating where they want the other person to be and stuff. So it's like very interesting. So now before we get to news, I do want to mention SI Awards came out for wrestling this past week, and it looks like AEW swept every category, which
Mostly, yeah.
they have a great relationship with WWE. So I wonder if WWE takes that as a slam or something, or it's like, but
I was surprised, like off the top of my head, thinking back to those, like the, um, I mean, I remember agreeing with a lot of it,
Tony
but
Storm, female wrestler of the
what
year,
was it,
match
like
of the year.
Rhea and Io, like some kind of 3 or 4 way or tag team, like WWE women's match was match of the year. I was like, I don't know if that was the Mania match or what, but like I don't even remember that match. Like,
It
I'm
was
not
because
saying like,
Io won that one. Yeah, WrestleMania. Yeah,
is that what it was? Was
it
that
was WrestleMania.
match of the year though? I mean, like, uh, I guess like I mean, again, I obviously have not seen every WWE match this year, but the best way I can put this is like to not say like, oh, like an AEW match should have won over it or something, which, let's be honest. But like, would, if you were just looking at matches under the WWE umbrella in 2025. Is that the most memorable match to everybody?
Yeah.
I don't I don't remember the match or when it happened or anything like that, so I don't feel like it can be, but I don't know, maybe people disagree. And it's nothing against those workers, like big Rhea fan and everything, but I just
It
it's
was
hard to
good. It was.
believe.
I will say it's good because nobody one expected the result of that match. I mean, the champ was the one who was the on the was the underdog the entire going into the match. There was always everyone else is like expecting. They didn't expect the champ to defend. So I think that was a big and it was a great. It was a there were some awesome spots in that match, but I don't know if it's the match of the year thinking about it, but it's interesting that AEW got a lot of votes and a lot of SI love, which is great for AEW. I did see that Pro Wrestling Illustrated did put out their top 500 or top 100 tag teams, and the Hardy Boys are number one for this past year, which
They've been very active. I don't
yeah,
know. I mean, that's
30 years in the business and you
well,
get
it's
number
it's
one,
tricky because like, all right, so I had seen the SI awards before, but only the winners. And I just pulled up like the actual like runner up and like the full thing, and um I'm a little more baffled because even like so match of the year is listed as uh WrestleMania EO versus Rhea versus Bianca. Okay. The runner up matches listed are Hangman and Moxley at All In Texas and Hangman and Osprey at Double or Nothing. Again, nothing against any of those people I just mentioned, but like I don't think any of those three matches would be in my top three personally. And that's what's great about, I mean, subjective, whatever, like everybody has their own opinion or something, but like I'm very surprised with those choices. But along the lines of the tag team side of things, like the tag team of the year from SI was FTR. I don't
yeah.
really agree with that. I don't think they stood out this year. Like, yes, obviously, like another tag title run starting recently and stuff, but um overall tag team wrestling, I don't think it was the best year because it wasn't always a focus.
Oh, you're right.
But I can't tell you like my favorite FTR match of the year, for example. And the Hardys are not certain. They're not the Hardys of the 90s or the 2000s or anything at this point. So I don't know. That's a little strange to me. A lot of it's a little strange, but everybody's got their own opinions, and that's what's I don't know. Maybe we need some painy action.
It's
Um,
coming. It's coming. We're getting to the end of the year, so the painting should be coming soon, and we're gonna have to create the list of who qualifies for which award. But we will do that. But I was wondering what you thought about that one.
Bucks and Brodito were the runners up,
Yeah, yeah.
which is interesting because obviously that means all three of the top three there were AEW. I don't know if the Bucks were active enough, but every match they have is a contender. Brodito, I think, could of those three teams, I'd probably pick them. But then again, I mean, not to spoil too much, but
They did
if we're
hold.
doing the painties, I mean, Bandito's definitely
Yeah,
being taken into a lot of considerations
yeah. They
on
were
that.
champs for quite a while, and they were surprising champs too. So yeah, no, I
Mhm.
agree. So let me tell you what's going on this week in wrestling. This is a holiday week, so Christmas is this Thursday. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate it. We're in Hanukkah right now, the last couple of days of Hanukkah. But if you're going to watch the AEW Collision this afternoon, what time is it again? 2:30.
Yeah.
Okay, we got Okada and Kevin Knight in the Continental Classic tournament. They've been nothing but gold. And if they're going to put them on Collision, I watch Collision from beginning to end because man, there's been some great matchups in this tournament, this Gold League. This is a Gold League match. We got Bailey and Jack Perry in the Gold League match as well today.
Oh, Speedball Mike Bailey. For a second, I was like, wait, what?
Oh, I'm sorry, Speed. I
She's finally switched over? Yes.
not,
Can't wait for
not,
that day.
not that Bailey. No, no,
Mm,
sorry, Mike Bailey.
ding
Yeah,
dong.
Mercedes Monet holds an open challenge for the Revolution Pro British title, and Eddie Kingston versus Nathan Cruz. Of course, this was taped Wednesday in Manchester, England, at the Co-op Live, and it's going to be at 2:30. It's going to be simulcast to HBO Max as well. Next Friday's SmackDown, which was taped last night, Ilya Dragunov is going to hold a U.S. Championship Open Challenge. I'm not going to say anything more. Joe Hendry versus The Miz. say his name and he appears, and now he's got a WWE contract. He's Joe Hendry. Drew McIntyre returns, and that was taped last night in Grand Rapids, Michigan, at the
The good old Van Andel Arena.
yeah. This is the last show before they go 3 hours, and it was taped for the holidays, so they're allowed to.
3 hours that nobody asked for.
Yeah, that first one's going to be in Buffalo, January 2nd. So get your is it second? Yeah.
It's too bad they won't have the beer sabers on sale at that.
I might go to that. I mean, there's still the one in Rochester that is a week from tomorrow, Sunday. I'm still. I mean, if I can, the Groupon ended, so I wasn't going to buy three tickets to get the fourth for free. But there's got to be another sort of Groupon where it's a 1-and-1 or something. And I'm waiting out. I mean, either that or I'm going to beg friends of mine who maybe get free tickets. But I definitely want to go see something because I got off from Christmas to the 5th of January. So I got to do do something, go out and have a good time doing something. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But, I'm wondering what's Raw's going to be this week because I have a Raw preview for January 5th when we're going to get CM Punk and Braun Breaker and the Kabuki Warriors versus Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. And it'll be the first one of the new year. So I don't know if we're going to get like a best of, I don't know. Monday should be fine. I think Monday, it's still not quite Christmas yet, So I'm not sure where they're going to be Monday, but they did do a preview of it. I just wasn't paying attention when they were running through it, but, and some other news, the Royal Rumble is officially locked in and unconventional start time. That's right, 2 p.m. Eastern for the Royal Rumble. Which is interesting. This is a 2 p.m. Royal Rumble. That means, and typically there's only like 4 matches on the Royal Rumble. I think the two Royal Rumble matches and then maybe a couple matches, but that's what they're featuring this year. So that's what they have scheduled to feature. So I guess we're going to get the Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre in there and then another match, maybe a Punk match.
Can't wait for the Royal Rumble 2027.
Oh yeah.
And that's all. I was pretty nice about the John Cena final match, but along the lines of what you're mentioning here, my least favorite part of that entire thing is Cena gets down on his knees, kisses the canvas, saying goodbye to the ring, and it's on the freaking Riyadh season logo that had to be gigantic in the center of the ring on this. Like, can we not, like, maybe for a big show like this, and even like to me, it doesn't have to be a Slim Jim logo or anything else. Like, can we just like put a WWE logo there or nothing maybe for a show like that? Like the whole like kneeling down and kissing the Saudi Arabia logo to me is not great.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Not great.
I agree. I think it just happened to be where he was, but I don't know. They'll probably pay him millions to come back someday to do something. So,
I looked up the just following up on that tag team awards, and I know there's different evaluation periods, but it is interesting that we mentioned like the SI awards, FTR, Brodito, and why am I blanking on what the other team was? But yeah, who was the 13th? The Bucks.
Yeah.
And then looking at the PWI list of their top 10, and of those 3 teams just mentioned that were the winner and the 2 runners up for Sports Illustrated, PWI's list top 10, the only one of those 3 teams in the top 10 is Brodito at 7.
Ooh.
Like, so that's, talk about like different opinions and stuff. Like, obviously you said Hardys were number 1, but like Brodito only gets 7, and no Bucks, no FTR, who won the other one. So everybody's entitled to their own opinions.
Yeah, I think SI doesn't, I didn't look at the PWI one, but was there like any Japanese teams in there and stuff, or was it?
Yes.
I was going to say, SI didn't really talk much about out of the country stuff. So they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, but not a ton. And they do also, I don't know what the SI criteria was for that, but there are also, I believe, at least a couple of women's tag teams in that top 10 as well. Like Alexa and Charlotte were number 9. The Saito brothers, wow, former ESW openers. They're number 10. But Hurt Syndicate number 2 behind the Hardys.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
Hurt Syndicate was pretty good. They had a good
they
run.
had
They
a
had a
big
good run.
year overall. I
Yeah, they had a
mean,
great run. Now that Bobby Lashley's hurt and probably won't be back for a long time, so unfortunately, yeah, they had a stretch of about what 3 months where they were champs and they beat everybody.
yeah.
Refused to put other people over. No, not saying
Yeah,
that.
no, yeah, that's not a that I mean, but they also insisted on putting on working with some other people too. Not that that equals out, but at least it wasn't 100% like we're not losing.
Yeah,
So
I got that. So, in some other news, Mick Foley isn't thrilled to see WWE's connection to U.S. President Donald Trump, and he's parting ways with WWE as a result. He came out this past week on his Facebook page, social media. He shared a statement voicing his displeasure with WWE's association with the current president of the United States, dubbing parting ways with WWE. He's letting his legend contract run out, which has got a couple months on it, and then which is interesting. I mean, I have it's
high five, Nick.
very courageous Mick. Mick's a great dude. He looks great now, by the way. He's lost a ton of weight. And but man, it's interesting that he's willing to sacrifice the 65,000 a year or whatever it is they pay those legends contracts. It's not a lot, I don't think, compared to what he's making in his heyday. But it also, I think he does get like health coverage and stuff with it too that might come into play. But yeah, I mean, not that I disagree with him or anything, but Mick's putting his money where his mouth is, as they say. And
Somebody's actually got a backbone. Love it.
yeah,
Love
yeah.
it.
I've always felt, he's always, even when we talked with him, he always was, he's very careful in what he says and everything. And but he was also very, I mean, he was very pro woman, very, he does a lot of great charities and,
And before this came out this week, if you'd posed the question a week ago to wrestling fans in general, like, is Mick Foley a good human being? It would have been 100% yes out there. Now, of course, all these people are like, "Oh, I never liked him. He's soft." Blah blah blah. Like the hypocrisy in this nation. It's it's crazy. Like now, all these people that are like discrediting his entire career because of this, when he hasn't wrestled in 2 decades. But well, unless you want to count the TNA stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's just it's very interesting how much people's opinions change when this doesn't really impact those fans at all. But
I
yeah,
will say it is a great statement, though. I mean, it's just, like I said, he's putting his money where his mouth is. So, kudos to him. We are big fans of Mix. We always have been. He's been very kind and coming on many times with us in the past. And he has family in the area. And, kudos. And I did not go see him when he came. Where did he? Oh, when he came to the comedy at the Carlson, just because the prices tickets were a little high and it was on like a Wednesday or something. It was in the middle of the week, so it was kind of tough. But I've always enjoyed talking with him about wrestling, and he's a big fan still to this day. I mean, he's physically, he has some disabilities from his wrestling years. He does, and he really gave everything to it. So people can't question his heart, that's for sure. So
yeah, I mean, again, if we have this conversation about him a week ago, everybody would say, like, everybody that's ever met him would have nothing but shining things to say about him and stuff. So hopefully people keep that in mind. Like, this isn't something that should destroy somebody's legacy. There are other people who have destroyed their legacies, and I understand that because they did bad things and stuff. But this to me is whether you agree with him or not, to now all of a sudden like hate on his entire career or whatever. Like, okay.
yeah, Triple H. All right, let's move on. AEW Dynasty is good. They announced it's going to be held on Sunday, April 12th, Vancouver, British Columbia, Rogers Arena. And so they just made that announcement. So buy your tickets if you're out there or whenever they go on sale. The Judgment Day is down a man temporarily. JD McDonough announced on social media he underwent surgery. he quoted, "Been working with some stuff for the last few months, but now is the time to pump the brakes and get it put back together." He put that on Instagram. Won't be long, be right back. But he had like a cast on his hand or something, so he must have had some issues with his hand. I did mention Austin Theory is the official guy stepping out of the shadows who was dressed in black with a black mask on. He came out and helped Logan Paul beat Rey Mysterio on Monday Night Raw, and then he demasked as he was leaving the arena. So who cares? I'm glad at least they followed up on it. They could have just left it, and never done anything about it, and then I could just bitched about it for the next 6 years. So, but he didn't. I did want to also mention AEW Dark in Cardiff happened this past week, and you got to see that on, I think it was on YouTube, right? It was,
Yeah.
yeah. And that was, so that was cool. It was, looked like there's 3 matches, the Death Riders and the Grizzled Young Veterans and Nathan Cruz, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Mascara Dorada versus Mark Andrews, Kid Lycos and Kid Lycos 2. And then we had Isla Dawn and Marina Shafir. Which you know what, that's cool. It's good that they do that. Maybe they'll get so many hits on it they'll have to do it again. We're hoping so. Major pop culture crossover appears to be on the horizon for WWE. WWE is preparing for an upcoming crossover promotion tied to Stranger Things. Stranger Things is in its last season. They've have 4 episodes to go. They're dropping the next 4 between Christmas and New Year's. The massively popular Netflix original series, Stranger Things, was so popular that it knocked WWE out top 10 for 2 straight weeks on Netflix. So it shows you how popular it is. Of course, they're probably going to create spin-offs because you're going to lose that popularity if you end your series, and this is the end of Stranger Things. So, this is, but we'll see. WWE is going to do something with them in the next 2 weeks. We'll find out. Maybe they'll just put something on the canvas, on the ring, or who knows. The match for this year's AEW Dynamite's Diamond Ring is now official, set for this week's special 3-hour AEW Dynamite and AEW Collision combined holiday bash themed. Oh, that was last week. Pardon me. The finals is going to be national champion Ricochet versus Bandito. And
the Ring of Honor World Champion. Yep.
Yeah, you were not too thrilled with that match. No,
the battle royal sucked. The final should be excellent, but that battle royal left a lot to be desired.
Yeah,
and I don't even know who's to blame for that. Probably a combination of I don't know, coaches and workers and whatever, but to me it just wasn't good. Just didn't click.
Yeah. So, and that's all the news I've got this week. Is there anything I'm missing? I mean, there probably was more stuff going on this week that I don't know. I mean, I know GCW had a big show last weekend. Was it last weekend that I saw that they trying to remember that?
I think so. Yeah. Well, I mean, no, like last week was one of the deathmatch tournaments, and then a JCW on Saturday or on Sunday. Very crazy match between Billy Starks and Charles Mason that got a lot more hardcore than I expected. No, I mean, this like everything else is kind of a little bit of a slow down period in wrestling for things to pick back up after the holidays and stuff. So I don't think there's much going on tonight. I know last night was House of Glory in Brooklyn, maybe, and Andrade showed up.
Yes, Andrade I saw the mask picture.
And of course, AEW is in New York City today and tomorrow. So who knows?
Happy holidays, Mad Dog. Mad Dog just popped in on the chat room. Yeah. So, and yeah, we've got at the Manhattan Center this right now as we speak. I don't know. It's coming up soon. I'm sure today.
Yeah, tonight and then like tomorrow evening. They'll be taping for the coming week, and then they won't have any live events again until I believe the New Year's Eve Dynamite / Collision in Omaha.
There we go. So that's it for this week, guys. I wish y'all happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, since we're like at the end of it, as well as Kwanzaa's coming up and Christmas this week. So we're going to get out of here. Hope you get your favorite.
And World Juniors starts in 6 days.
Oh, World Junior. Yeah, there you go.
So,
and look at
that's my holiday season.
Sabres fight, and Kevin Adams is gone, right?
Yeah, let's just wait till a 3-game winning streak and the week before Christmas to do something that, well, whatever.
It should have been done a long time ago.
Long overdue for a questionable decision in the very first place. But yes, that was a long time coming.
Yeah, and that's of course we're talking the Sabres GM got fired this week. So
Kevin with a Y.
yeah, we're gonna get out of here. Have a great week, everybody. Have a great holiday. We'll see you after Christmas. And like I said, I hope you get everything, all your wrestling Christmas presents you want, and hopefully maybe even tickets to WWE's live event on Sunday, a week from Sunday at the Blue Cross Arena. I'm hoping to go. I do not have tickets. If I have any friends out there that want someone to come with them, I'm here.
Somebody give him a ticket for Christmas.
There you go.
Don't give me one, but
it's $74 now is like the cheapest one I can find, and it's not a great seat.
Oh my God.
Not a great seat, but Cody's coming. They announced last night. They announced 2 matches. Cody and Drew McIntyre and Jade Cargill and
Tiffany Stratton.
Tiffany Stratton. So we got that coming.
That'll put some butts in the seats.
Yeah, they're going to put the NXT guys on too, I bet. You'll see. Well, a bunch of NXT people coming this way. They got 2 shows. They got another one. Asuka's going to be down in Jacksonville that day. I saw them with a slide on their WWE.com or whatever, WWE's Instagram, or it was one of those pages. But yeah, so it's like she's doing a signing too that day. And it's like, well, we don't get Asuka. I know that. So, but you guys all have a great holiday. We'll see you next week, and body slam someone you love. We're going to get out of here. We'll be back same bat time, same.